Have you ever felt that quiet voice inside you asking a question you cannot escape? A question that appears in moments of silence, when the distractions fade and the noise of the world finally stops. It asks you something simple, yet deeply uncomfortable. Is this the man you were meant to become? Many people spend their entire lives running from that question. They fill their days with entertainment, endless scrolling, meaningless routines, and temporary comfort. They stay busy, but deep inside they know something is missing. Because busyness is not the same as growth, movement is not the same as progress, and deep down you can feel the difference. There is a part of you that wants more. A part of you that refuses to accept a life built on excuses, hesitation, and wasted potential. That voice is not weakness. It is the beginning of awakening. Every man who has ever achieved mastery has faced this moment. The moment when he realizes that the life he is living is smaller than the life he is capable of creating. Centuries ago, a warrior named Miyamoto Musashi faced this exact moment. He did not grow up surrounded by luxury or guidance. He did not wait for the world to prepare a comfortable path for him. Instead, he chose something far more difficult. He chose growth. While others searched for safety, he searched for challenge. While others avoided struggle, he walked directly toward it. Because he understood a truth that most people spend their entire lives trying to avoid. Comfort slowly weakens the human spirit. When life becomes too easy, the mind becomes soft. When challenges disappear, discipline disappears with them. And when discipline fades, potential quietly dies. But the superior man refuses to live that way. He understands that struggle is not an enemy, struggle is a teacher. Pressure reveals character, difficulty exposes weakness. And every obstacle placed in front of you is an opportunity to become stronger than the version of yourself that existed yesterday. Musashi faced his first duel when he was still very young. Not because he wanted fame or recognition, but because he understood that every real challenge forces you to confront something inside yourself. Your fear, your doubt, your hesitation. Most people spend their entire lives avoiding these emotions. They build comfortable routines designed to protect themselves from discomfort. But the problem with avoiding fear is simple. Avoiding fear slowly trains you to become controlled by it. Every time you walk away from difficulty, a small part of your confidence disappears. But every time you face it, something powerful happens inside your mind. Your identity begins to change. You stop seeing yourself as someone who avoids hard things. You begin seeing yourself as someone who can confront them, and that shift changes everything. The path of mastery does not begin with talent. It does not begin with perfect conditions, special opportunities, or sudden motivation. It begins with a decision to stop living below your potential. A decision to stop negotiating with weakness. A decision to become stronger, sharper, and more disciplined than the person you were yesterday. Because the man you could become is waiting on the other side of that decision. And the path you are about to discover has the power to transform not just what you do, but who you are. The moment that decision is made, something else becomes necessary. Discipline, not the kind that appears when you feel inspired, not the kind that lasts for a few days when motivation is high. Real discipline is different. Real discipline begins when excitement disappears, because motivation is emotional. It rises and falls like waves, but mastery cannot depend on emotion. Mastery depends on standards that you follow whether you feel like it or not. This is where most people quietly fail. They start strong. They promise themselves change. They imagine a stronger future version of themselves. But when resistance appears, they negotiate with it. They tell themselves they will start tomorrow. They tell themselves they deserve a break. They tell themselves they will push harder later. And slowly, without noticing it, the old habits take control again. The superior man understands something that changes everything. Your life will always move in the direction of your daily habits. Not your dreams, not your intentions, your habits. Your brain is designed to automate behavior. It repeats what it practices. Every repeated action strengthens a neural pathway. Every avoided challenge weakens one. This is not philosophy, it is biology. The brain constantly rewires itself based on what you repeatedly do. If you repeatedly choose comfort, your brain becomes efficient at avoiding difficulty. If you repeatedly choose effort, your brain becomes efficient at overcoming resistance. You are always training your mind. The only question is what you are training it to do. The warrior mindset understands this deeply. Discipline is not punishment. Discipline is programming. Every difficult action you complete sends a message to your brain. It tells your mind that you are someone who finishes what he starts. It tells your mind that discomfort does not control your behavior, and that message slowly becomes identity. Confidence is often misunderstood. People think confidence appears before action. They believe confident people act because they feel ready, but the truth works in the opposite direction. Confidence is built through evidence, evidence that you can face difficulty, evidence that you can endure pressure, evidence that you can do what most people quit doing. Each time you push through resistance, your brain records that victory. It becomes proof that you are stronger than your excuses. Over time, that proof accumulates, and that accumulation creates unshakable confidence. This is why the superior man does not wait to feel ready. He acts while feeling resistance. He trains while feeling tired. He moves forward even when doubt whispers in his ear. Because he understands something powerful. Discipline today creates freedom tomorrow. Every moment you choose effort over comfort, you are shaping the man you are becoming. Every moment you resist distraction, you sharpen your focus. Every moment you refuse to quit, you build mental armor that protects you from weakness. And slowly, something remarkable happens. The same tasks that once felt difficult begin to feel normal. The resistance that once stopped you begins to lose its power. Your mind becomes stronger, calmer, more focused. Because discipline is not about forcing yourself forever. It is about training your mind until strength becomes natural. And when that shift happens, you are no longer fighting your habits. Your habits are now fighting for you. That is when the path of mastery truly begins. And once discipline begins to reshape your habits, another challenge appears that most people never learn how to control. The attachment to results. Human beings are naturally drawn to outcomes. We want the reward, we want recognition, we want proof that our effort is working. The mind constantly asks the same question. Is this paying off yet? When the answer feels uncertain, frustration appears. Doubt grows louder. Many people begin strong, but the moment results arrive slowly, their commitment begins to fade. This is where emotional attachment quietly destroys progress. When your identity becomes tied to winning, failure suddenly feels unbearable. When your self-worth depends on immediate success, every setback feels like proof that you are not good enough. And that pressure creates fear. Fear creates hesitation. Hesitation destroys clarity. The mind that is obsessed with results cannot stay fully present. It becomes divided between what is happening now and what it desperately hopes will happen later. That division weakens focus. It drains energy. It slowly erodes confidence. The superior man learns to break this cycle. He shifts his attention away from outcomes and places it fully on the process. Not because results do not matter, but because results are always the consequence of something deeper. Daily actions. Consistent effort, focused repetition. When your mind becomes anchored in the process, something powerful happens. The pressure disappears. You stop measuring every step as success or failure. You stop allowing temporary setbacks to define your identity. Instead, you become committed to improvement itself. Every day becomes a chance to sharpen your skill. Every challenge becomes feedback. Every mistake becomes information. This mindset changes the way the brain responds to difficulty. Psychology shows that when people focus on outcomes, the brain enters a threat state. Stress hormones increase. The nervous system becomes tense. Creativity and problem-solving ability decrease. But when people focus on learning and improvement, the brain enters a growth state. Curiosity increases. The mind becomes flexible. New strategies appear naturally. The difference is not effort, the difference is perspective. Detachment creates clarity. When you release the need to prove yourself through immediate success, your mind becomes calm. And calmness is power. It allows you to observe what others miss. It allows you to react without panic. It allows you to adapt when situations change. Most people are constantly battling their own emotions. They overreact to every setback. They become discouraged when progress feels slow. They abandon the path the moment the road becomes uncertain. But the superior man sees difficulty differently. He expects resistance. He expects failure. He expects moments when progress feels invisible. And because he expects them, they do not shake him. He continues moving. Not because he is guaranteed victory, but because the process itself is transforming him. Every disciplined action strengthens his focus. Every setback sharpens his awareness. Every moment of persistence strengthens his identity. He is no longer chasing results to prove his worth. He is building mastery to fulfill his potential. And that shift removes one of the greatest obstacles that stops people from becoming extraordinary: fear of failure. When you detach from outcomes, failure loses its power over you. It becomes nothing more than information guiding your next move. Your mind becomes free, free to act, free to learn, free to grow without hesitation. And a free mind is a dangerous thing. Because once fear loses its grip, nothing can stop the man who refuses to quit. And when fear begins to lose its control over you, something else becomes possible that most people rarely experience. Clarity. A calm mind sees things differently. It begins to notice patterns that were once invisible. It becomes aware of thoughts, reactions, and habits that quietly shape every decision you make. This awareness is powerful, but it requires something that modern life constantly tries to steal from you: silence. Most people are surrounded by noise every moment of the day. Notifications, conversations, entertainment, endless information. Their minds are always reacting, always consuming, always distracted. But a distracted mind cannot see itself clearly. When the mind is constantly stimulated, it never has the chance to slow down enough to observe what is happening inside. Thoughts pass by without examination. Emotions rise without understanding. Habits repeat without awareness. And without awareness, change becomes almost impossible. The superior man understands the value of stepping away from the noise. Not because he rejects the world, but because he understands that solitude sharpens perception. When the external noise fades, the internal world becomes visible. You begin to notice how your mind reacts to discomfort. You see how quickly doubt appears when something becomes difficult. You recognize the patterns that quietly control your behavior. This moment of self-observation can feel uncomfortable at first, because it removes the illusions. You begin to see the excuses you have been telling yourself. You begin to recognize the moments when fear disguised itself as logic. You begin to notice the habits that slowly keep you trapped in the same place. But this discomfort is not a weakness. It is the beginning of self-mastery. Psychology calls this metacognition. It is the ability to step outside your immediate emotions and observe your thinking process from a distance. When this skill develops, something remarkable happens. You stop reacting automatically. Instead of being controlled by your impulses, you begin to question them. Why did I avoid that challenge? Why did I give up so quickly? What belief made me hesitate? These questions are powerful because they turn unconscious patterns into conscious choices. And once a pattern becomes visible, it can be changed. Most people live their entire lives repeating the same reactions. When pressure appears, they panic. When failure appears, they retreat. When uncertainty appears, they freeze. They believe these responses are part of their personality, but they are not personality. They are habits, and habits can be trained. The superior man treats his own mind like a battlefield that must be studied carefully. He watches his reactions without judgment. He analyzes his weaknesses without denial. Because every weakness that becomes visible becomes an opportunity for growth. Every moment of honest reflection sharpens self-awareness, and self-awareness creates control. You begin to notice the exact moment when doubt tries to enter your mind. You become aware of the voice that tells you to stop, to quit, to avoid effort. But now something is different. Instead of obeying that voice automatically, you recognize it. You see it for what it truly is: a habit. And habits lose their power the moment you stop obeying them blindly. This is where transformation deepens. You are no longer just improving your actions. You are transforming the way your mind operates. And a man who understands his own mind holds an advantage that most people will never possess. When you begin to understand your own mind, the world around you starts to look different. You begin to notice something that most people never realize. Life is not random. It follows patterns. Patterns in behavior, patterns in decision-making. Patterns in how people react under pressure, how they chase comfort, how they avoid responsibility, and how they repeat the same mistakes again and again. Most people move through life, reacting to whatever happens in front of them. They solve problems only after the damage has already been done. They make decisions based on emotion in the moment without thinking about where those decisions will lead. But the superior man develops a different skill. He learns to see ahead. He studies cause and effect. He observes habits, consequences, and outcomes. He begins asking a powerful question that changes everything. Where does this path lead? Every action you repeat is a direction. Every habit you practice is building a future version of you. The problem is that most people only think about the next few hours, maybe the next few days. Very few people think about the next 5 years. But the future is not something that suddenly appears one day. It is something quietly built through daily decisions. Every moment you choose discipline, you are building strength for the future. Every moment you choose comfort, you are slowly weakening your potential. And once you become aware of this truth, your perspective shifts. Short-term pleasure begins to lose its attraction. Temporary distractions begin to look smaller. Because you can now see the invisible cost attached to them. Psychologists call this the ability to delay gratification. It is one of the strongest predictors of long-term success. People who develop the ability to sacrifice immediate pleasure for future growth consistently achieve more in nearly every area of life. Not because they are smarter, not because they are luckier, but because they think differently about time. They see time as an investment. Every action becomes a deposit toward the person they are becoming. Every hour of focus builds momentum that compounds over years. The superior man trains himself to think this way. He refuses to let temporary emotions control permanent decisions. When something feels easy in the moment, he asks himself a deeper question. Will this make me stronger tomorrow? And when something feels difficult, he asks another question. Will avoiding this make my future harder? These questions sharpen awareness. They transform impulsive reactions into strategic choices. Life begins to feel less chaotic and more intentional. Because you are no longer drifting through circumstances. You are directing them. This mindset creates something incredibly powerful: patience. When you understand long-term consequences, you stop demanding instant rewards. You become willing to invest effort today for results that may take years to appear. That patience creates stability. It removes desperation. It strengthens focus because you are no longer chasing quick victories. You are building something deeper, something lasting. And while others rush blindly toward short-term pleasure, you are quietly constructing a life built on discipline, clarity, and vision. That is the power of strategic thinking. It turns time into your ally. And once time begins working for you instead of against you, your growth becomes unstoppable. And when time begins to work in your favor, a deeper realization starts to emerge. The greatest obstacle you will ever face is not outside of you. It is within you. The world will always present challenges. There will always be competition, uncertainty, and moments when circumstances feel unfair. But these external forces are not the real battle. The real battle happens in the mind. It is the quiet conflict between discipline and laziness, between courage and fear, between the voice that pushes you forward and the voice that whispers excuses. Every day these forces compete for control of your decisions. Most people lose this battle without even realizing it. They surrender slowly, one small comfort.